Do not touch the gate until you are ready to enter, for that is forbidden. The known gates are in China and Japan, but there is one in Tibet, which has been kept secret. I will show you on the map.
He rang for a fellow monk to bring in a map of Tibet.
The gate you seek is a simple, humble one. You must travel there on foot and take only basic provisions. For to find the gate, you must prove that you walk by faith. The gate is marked with the simple prayer flags of the nomads. The journey will not be easy, and only the two of you may access the gate. Your mentor will have to stay behind.
He showed us a path where we could begin the ascent. I gulped as I recognized the location despite my inability to decipher the language. Mount Everest. Fortunately, it seemed that the Spirit Gate was not located at its peak, but it was, in fact, only a short distance past the snow line. Mr. Kadam and the ocean teacher spoke animatedly about the best route to take, while Kishan listened intently. How could I possibly do this? I have to. Ren needs me. Finding this new place and object was what would help me find Ren, and nothing would keep me from doing that, not even altitude sickness or a freezing cold mountain. The scroll was given to Mr. Kadam, as well as the maps and a detailed explanation including directions to the Spirit Gate. Kishan's warm hand picked up mine.
Kelsey, are you all right?
Yes. I'm just a little scared about the trip.
Me too. But remember, he said it requires faith.
Do you have faith? Kishan considered.
Yes. I think I do. More than I did anyway. What about you?
I have hope. Is that good enough?
I think it is.
The ocean teacher shook our hands warmly, winked, and excused himself. He left flanked by his escorts. A monk led us to our room so we could gather our belongings. Mr. Kadam spent the rest of the day preparing for our trip. Kishan and I packed lightly, remembering the warning to take little with us. Mr. Kadam determined that we would bring no food or water, knowing that the golden fruit would sustain us. He told me that he had tested the limitations of the fruit and said that it seemed to work from as far away as 100 feet, and though it could not produce water, it could make a variety of other beverages. He recommended hot herbal teas and sugar-free drinks to stay hydrated. I thanked him and wrapped it carefully in my quilt before placing the bundle in my backpack. We debated the merits of a tent for a long time and decided on a large sleeping bag instead. They didn't feel I could carry a tent up the mountain, so I needed room in my backpack for Kishan's clothing, Phanindra, and all the weapons. Kishan would have to change to tiger form and back, so he would need the warm clothes. The next day, we drove to the base of the mountain. After arriving, Mr. Kadam walked with us for a while and then hugged us both briefly. He told us that he would set up a camp at the base and would eagerly wait for our return.
Be very careful, Miss Kelsey. The journey will no doubt be difficult. I've put all my notes in your bag. I hope that I've remembered everything.
I'm sure you did. We'll be okay, don't worry. Hopefully we'll be back before you know it. Maybe time will stop like it did in Kishkinda. Take care of yourself. And if for some reason we don't come back, will you tell Ren?
You will come back, Miss Kelsey. Of that I am certain. Go off now, and I will see you soon.
Kishan changed into a black tiger, and we started up the mountain. Half an hour later, I turned to see how far we'd come. The Tibetan plain sweeped out before us as far as the eye could see. I waved at Mr. Kadam's small figure far below, then turned, climbed between two rocks, and set my feet on the path ahead. Chapter 17. Spirit Gate. I shivered and yanked my Gore-Tex gloves a little higher on my wrists. We'd hiked up the mountain most of the first day and set up camp near some rocks that blocked the wind. When we stopped, I gratefully shrugged off my backpack and stretched. I searched the area for a while, gathering wood to start a fire. After a hot dinner thanks to the golden fruit, I snuggled deep in my king-sized sleeping bag fully clothed. Kishan nudged his head into the opening and crawled in after me. It was awkward at first, but after an hour I felt extremely grateful for the warm fur that stopped my shivering. I was so exhausted that, despite the noise of the wind, I was able to sleep. The next morning, I used the golden fruit to wish up warm oatmeal with maple syrup and brown sugar and some steaming hot chocolate for breakfast. Kishan wanted to stay in tiger form to keep warm, so I gave him the option of a large platter full of rare venison steaks, or a giant dish of the same oatmeal I ate, and a large bowl of milk. He started with the meat, but finished off the oatmeal and milk too, lapping it up quickly. I rolled up our belongings and stowed them in the bag before we set off on our journey again. We settled into a routine for the next 4 days. Kishan led the way, I supplied meals via the golden fruit, and built the fires. And then we slept snuggled together, tiger and human, in the large sleeping bag at night, while the wind howled around us. The upward climb was challenging. If I hadn't been working out with Kishan and Mr. Kadam, I wouldn't have been prepared for it. The ascent wasn't bad enough that I would need climbing gear, but it was no stroll through the park either. Breathing was harder the higher we went because there was less oxygen, so we stopped frequently to drink and rested often. We hit the snow line on the 5th day. Even in the summer, there was snow on Mount Everest. Kishan was easy to see now, even from a distance. A black animal on the white snowdrifts did not go undetected. He was lucky he was probably one of the biggest animals out here. If he were smaller, we'd be hunted by predators. I wonder if polar bears live here. No, polar bears live at the poles. Maybe there are other bears out here, or possibly mountain lions. Sasquatch? The Yeti? What was the snow monster in Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer called? The Bumble. I giggled as I imagined a puppet like Kishan attacking the Bumble and hummed the Misfit song from the movie. I followed Kishan's tiger tracks and started keeping an eye out for animal footprints. When I spied small animal tracks in the snow, I tried to figure out what they could be. Some were obviously birds, but others I thought might be rabbits or small rodents. Not seeing anything bigger and becoming bored with my game, I relaxed and let my mind drift as I followed Kishan. The trees were becoming sparse and the terrain rocky. The snowdrifts were deep and it became increasingly difficult to breathe. I started to get nervous. I didn't really think it would take us this long to find the Spirit Gate. Day 7 was when we ran into the bear. Kishan had taken off about a half hour before to search for wood and a likely place for us to camp. I was to follow his tracks, and he'd circle back and sniff me out. He was actually due back soon, as he never left me for longer than 30 minutes at a time. I was trudging slowly along, stepping in his tiger prints, when I heard a rumbling bellow behind me. I figured Kishan had circled around and was trying to get my attention. I turned and stopped in my tracks, gasping in horror. A large, brown bear was galloping toward me in attack mode. Its round ears were laid back against its head. Its mouth hung open, revealing sharp teeth, and it was coming at me fast. It ran faster than I could. I screamed.